Hi everyone, if you're tuning in, I'm guessing it's because you recently read on my Instagram that I may have done a slight revision and rejuvenation of the buzzies. I had so many questions and so many of you obviously have considered it or just want to know some more information and you reached out, so I figured if I could quickly get a video up just to answer the main questions and talk you through my experience of having a breast augmentation sort of from start to finish, then that might be the most helpful way. So I'll try and be as succinct as I can. You all know it's not easy for me, but I'll try my very best. And you have to excuse the state of me. At the moment, as it stands, this is day 6 after surgery, so I'm feeling pretty great, but I'm still not feeling the need to put any makeup on my face whatsoever. Okay, so I had my first child at the age of 24. So prior to that, and bear in mind I'm 5'7" in height, and I'm broad, so even when I'm super slim I don't ever look petite. I always look like a fairly sizable person in a good way, like not in a negative way. Before having children I was a 34 D to double D depending on my weight or how lean I was at the time. I never considered myself as someone who had really big boobs, just because I think they were in proportion to, like I said, to my stature. And I also never thought of someone who had like amazing boobs. They were just a nice set of boobs. So then boobs after children. So my first child was born 11 years ago and I breastfed Charlie for 6 months, and my boobs did change a lot compared to what they were. I was still wearing a now 32D size bra, but they were emptier than before, and you know, like I felt like I could like fold them up and stuff because they were still of a decent size but just nowhere near as full. And I used to complain about them all the time because I really noticed the difference from when I first had children. And when I met James, when Charlie was about 7, I told James that I would missed how my boobs were before and that I would like to have a boob job. And he is not into plastic surgery or fake boobs at all, and he said, if you're my girlfriend, like, no way, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with the boobs you've got, and sort of get over yourself. And I never really sort of gave it much more thought at that point. And then we had Maddie, and I breastfed Maddie for 6 months, and while I was pregnant and breastfeeding, my boobs got really big. I would say much bigger than they did with Charlie. They seemed to come from around my back like this. And I think when they were full with milk, I think they were like a G. So after I weaned Maddie, I was initially excited for the enormous like milk jugs to go down, and I thought I would just return to what I had with Charlie, but I didn't. It was a lot more different this time. It was a lot worse. So what I was left with was zero breast tissue at all at the top, and then it's just the skin of double D size boobs that had been stretched to a G for extended periods of time. The skin of that just hanging and left, and then a tiny bit of breast tissue like at the very bottom, like just hanging, weighing the sagging skin down at the bottom. That's all it was. So it was completely flat, and then this tiny swinging in the wind puddle of breast tissue at the bottom of a sock of skin. And when I wore bras, even though I was wearing a 32C now, I never filled out the cup part of the bra because technically I didn't need anywhere near that large cup for breast tissue, but I needed it to be able to tuck the skin in because if I went shopping and tried on the cup size that would have probably actually fit me and made me look like I had a bit of volume, you know, like compressed it all and pushed it up like it's meant to, if I got like a size that's that size, all the extra skin would spill out of the armpits or come out under the band and double, like, hang over, and not like double boob hangover, like hang over, like empty flaps of skin hang over. So I ended up always opting for a cup size larger bra so I could accommodate the skin, and then it would mean every time I bent down, even if I was in a remotely low cut top, you could see straight down to my nipples, because there was nothing to actually fill out the cup, and the skin would like concave and all give way and you could just see nipple. Was not nice. My main issues, I never hated, I was never crying over my boobs or down on myself about it or anything, because you know, and I could comprehend and understand what had happened. Just like having stretch marks after having children is unfortunate, but you know why you've got them. It's not like you've got them from getting drunk one night and doing something stupid. You know, you've got them for a legitimate reason, and I can understand that. But I just found that I just wasted a lot of time thinking about what they were doing. So it wasn't that I was upset about them, it was just constantly, like, I would go into a changing room to try on a top and realise I'd been walking around without even knowing with my boobs hanging out the bottom of my bra, like, so, because obviously my bras were a tiny bit big, it's not even like, so the band of my bra would be halfway like above my nipples and the rest of my boobs would be hanging out the bottom, and I've walked around and I haven't realised that that's what has been going on. And similarly with dresses, if there was any, I could never wear anything that didn't require a bra, because I looked very, very odd without any underwear on at all, because like I said, it was just flat, and then there was these things that just hung like there. And so I was always concerned, like, what underwear, if I want to wear this, what underwear can I wear that will get them up and try and make me look like I have something. And most recently, back in January, I had a really fancy night out planned with the girls in London, and I had a really special dress, and I don't very often buy something expensive to wear out. By expensive, you know, I mean like sort of £100, because I don't go out often enough to justify spending that kind of money on a dress. But it was my birthday weekend away with the girls, and we were going somewhere super fancy, and I was so excited, and we really wanted to feel good, so I bought this really beautiful dress. And although it's quite covered at the chest, it had a small like triangle cut out here, and the one bra I have that I don't fill, but it's so stiff and padded that no matter how tight the dress is and how much it compresses, it still makes me look like I have a shape up there. And I wanted to wear that bra with it, but unfortunately, because it was such a structured bra, it had quite a large waistband, and you could see the waistband, the chest, the strap, the band of the bra through the little cutout, so I couldn't wear it. So I had to just opt for one of my normal bras, and those, just because it was like a bandagey material, it just squashed right down and made me look like a boy. So I went out on that night out trying to be all fancy, and I had 2 sets of sports bra padding stuffed into my bra like a 12-year-old girl to just try and give me a little bit of something, excuse me. And you know, and it's and then I was concerned, because it did have a V but just not a deep one. I was concerned that the black boob pads were gonna work their way out as I was, you know, dancing around and, you know, loving life. You know, I was concerned, are they going to come out? So, and I found that, you know, on holiday pictures, if I was in a bikini and I had the children in my arms and we take a family snap, it would be in the back of my mind, is the loose skin puckering? Will you see it like creping over the top of my bikini? Or you could never tell if like a nipple came out, because it's just so much skin, it doesn't feel normal, so you can't tell when things are falling out. And similarly, like, lying on my side on the bed, and if James like would put his arm around me when we would like have a cuddle in bed, it would cross my mind, where are my boobs? Because my boobs would not be on my body, they would be lying in a puddle on the mattress next to me, and I'd just be like, oh, I don't really want you to feel that or see that. You saw enough with the birth of our baby, you don't need to see that. And I just think I'm lucky enough to be having like my second shot at the love of my life and forever love, and I don't want those thoughts. I don't want to think about that when I'm with James. I don't want it to cross my mind. It doesn't matter that it's not tears or, you know, really severe upset. It's just, I don't want it. I don't want to spend another second thinking of it. So after birth of Maddie, James actually completely changed his mind, all of his own accord, even really without me initiating a conversation, and said there is a really, really big difference. And he said, and while I'm absolutely love you for who you are and it makes no difference to me whatsoever, I don't think you should waste another minute dealing with it if you don't have to, and if you want to go and get it sorted, I fully support you. So considering we had a really big holiday planned in a couple of months, and I've got a couple of events in April and May, I realised there was a pretty small window of opportunity if I was serious to go and get it done. So I decided I needed to start making some inquiries and seeing if it was feasible to get it done rather quickly, which is what happened next. How I found my surgeon. A lot of you have asked me, you know, I've been researching companies, what companies did you use? I didn't research any companies. I wasn't really concerned about what company I went to. I was concerned about the surgeon. I don't know a lot of people who have had breast augmentation. I really didn't want it to be an inconvenient process whereby I travelled hundreds of miles away, and it was a real pain in the bum for everyone to organise their lives around me to have it done. So I was really keen to find out who the good surgeons were in my area, and it just so happens that I have a very lovely friend who, shall we say, she married into a sporting family, and she knows a lot of the wives and girlfriends of high profile sports people who, with no expense spared, have had this kind of surgery. And it was a nice way for me to be able to say, yes, please go on a little fact finding mission for me, because these women were all from local sort of sports teams, or their husbands were rather, and just find out who it is that they use. I'll cross the money point when it comes to, but regardless of how much it costs, just want to know where, if you had an unlimited budget, where would you go and who would you see to have this kind of surgery done? So so she did a little asking around to a couple of her female friends who she knew had them done and who were thrilled with their results, which is how I got the recommendation for my surgeon, with the one that I ultimately used, because this was really important to me, because I didn't have hundreds and hundreds of pounds to throw away on meeting lots and lots of different surgeons. It costs £150 for a consultation with the surgeon, and I had sort of one shot at that. So you can see the cosmetic nurse first for an appointment for free normally, and I'm sure there are other plastic surgery companies where you can maybe see a plastic surgeon for free, but the surgeon that I saw, you had to pay upfront £150 just for the privilege to see him and have him see you. So once I had found out whose boobs were good, what they had to say, and where the surgeons were based, then I looked up the surgeon and his secretary and found out what companies he operated through. So for instance, like most surgeons do multiple things, like they'll work for the NHS and then they'll work privately as well, and it's, they could, I don't know, work for maybe a couple of different private hospitals. Luckily the surgeon that I ended up using worked for Spire, or with Spire, which is a hospital that is just sort of 5 minutes away from where I live, and I've been to used that private hospital previously for my Crohn's disease, so I felt really comfortable about and knew sort of the level of care that they gave, so it was a win-win situation for me. I didn't go and see the cosmetic nurse first for free. I wasn't interested because the questions I had to ask that were important to me, only a surgeon could answer for me, and I really wasn't interested in the ins and the outs and the risks and the this is what happens and all of that. I wasn't interested in that. I needed to know two things. One, can I get away with just having implants, or do I need a lift? Because that would greatly affect my decision to have a surgery or not. And two, if I can just have implants, will they have to be so enormous to fill out the skin that I've got, the excess skin, that I will hate them and not want to have the surgery done? So I needed to know, do I need implants and a lift? Or if I can just have implants, what size would they have to be to fill out the skin that I've got? And the whole thing for me hinged on those two questions, and I can't tell you how nervous I was about those questions and how it made me realise how important it was to me, because when I was faced with the possibility of like, right, I'm going for the consultation now, and if he says you've got too much loose skin or they are too saggy, you will need a lift, how devastated am I going to be? So it did bring it home how much I did actually genuinely want it done, because I was really concerned he was going to say, give me, bad news. So I booked straight in with my surgeon for a consultation. On the day of the consultation, I was seen really quickly. I went in. I already knew he was the perfect surgeon for me in terms of demeanour and the way that he handled me, which I mean, he was very serious but very sweet and quiet, very matter of fact, not sales pitchy, not like, oh, we're going to be able to do this for you and it's going to be amazing. And I didn't need that. To me, this was a very big deal. It was very serious, and as much as I love to have a laugh and a joke, and I did, believe me, I had a laugh and a joke in that consultation, but I needed him to not be the laugh and the joke. And he was, like as I said, very straightforward with me, and very, I'm going to manage your expectations, and by doing that we will get the best possible outcome. So he asked me why I was there. I explained all the things I've explained to you guys. I explained to him how I felt about it, what I'd been through with the breastfeeding and the sizing, and I said to him that my worry was that I would need a lift, which I wasn't prepared to do. At which point he asked me why I wouldn't want a lift, and as much as money was a concern, because obviously it's more money for a lift, the actual cost of a lift I think added about an extra sort of £1,500 onto the cost of the breast augmentation surgery. So it wasn't a huge increase. I thought it was going to double the price of it, whereas it was just sort of, I don't know, like a third of the price that was extra. But I already have, and I said this to him, I already have loads of scars. I've got stretch marks visible on my stomach already, as well as 3 stomach surgery scars from having Crohn's disease that are visible, I said, so I think if you add the uplift scars, which is a scar that goes all the way around your nipples and down from the centre to the crease, I think I'll feel like a patchwork quilt, and I don't want to have any more scars. And I appreciate they fade a lot over, and they end up looking, it looks like the scars end up looking like nothing. He showed me pictures of how great they look. I'm not there to create more visible scarring on my body. I'm there to try and feel good with no clothes on. So I didn't really want to entertain a lift, and I didn't want to spend more money than was necessary. So he asked me if I had any asymmetry, and I recently told this on my Instagram stories as well, so if you're watching this and have already heard this part of the story, I apologise. But he said to me, have you got any asymmetry at the moment? And I said yes. I said, but it's nothing like that bad, but there is a difference. And so he said obviously because breast augmentation surgery doesn't, if without a lift, it won't correct that. It will just maybe make it look a little bit better. And I said, I'm not really concerned about it because I think it's hardly noticeable. So he said, okay, come and do you mind if we have a look? So I took all my clothes off. I was like literally sat there like this. Not because I mind what he's doing, but just that someone else was seeing how bad the situation was. And you could feel them like lifting up this flap, how much breast tissue's there, lifting up this flap, and they measure from your collarbone to your nipple each side to see how much sagging there is. Like, 'cause if it's a long length, you might have to have a lift because you're just gonna end up with 2 implants down here. So it was very nerve-wracking. I was like literally, oh my god, that feels really far, oh my gosh. So, and he was like, do you mind if we just lift this? And so he did that, and he came out and he went, do you know that your nipples are 2 centimeters apart? And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. So like literally he was trying to tell me that my nipples were like this. So I was mortified because I told him the difference was like hardly anything, and he was like, yeah, when I measured, they're 2 centimeters difference. He said, so you need to be aware that if we do a surgery without a lift, that they may well still be like this. It might improve slightly, but that's 2 centimeters. And I was just like, oh my god, I'm like literally never going to think about anything else. So every time then I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, all I could see was this 2 centimeter difference. Like, hi, hey there. But that sort of did reaffirm to me that, I was genuinely right to have issues in my head about my boobs and that they're not in the best condition after breastfeeding. So he explained to me, he said that the distance from I think it's the sternum or like, your throat to the nipple was not so far that I had to have a lift. He said there was significant sagging in my left breast compared to my right, hence the 2 centimeters. And he said that although I'm wearing a C bra, I had an A bra's worth of breast tissue. I was like, that's what he was saying, basically. So no breast tissue, just all skin. And he said I would benefit from a lift. Oh, it's my dog. He said I would benefit from the lift, and if I had the lift and implants, I would have, like 20-year-old boobs. He said, but without the lift, it could be done because I think it's the throat to nipple distance that determines it. And he said I was in an okay range, because and also it depends where your nipples are. Sorry, girl. To your crease. So where the fold of your boobs are, if your nipple if there's no space of skin between the crease of your boob and your nipple, then I think you need a lift. Whereas mine, thankfully, my nipples were still fairly, central, because those 2 centimeters central on my skin. So he said I could have an implant, but that I was correct that there would be a minimum size I would have to go to be able to fill that out and to not look like 2 balls hanging in a sock. So he said you would have to go to probably 375 cc's, because they work in the cc's rather than in cup size, because let's be fair, every lingerie manufacturer has a different sizing. So he said 375 cc's, possibly 400 cc's. And I just said to him, I just want to be the smallest I can be without having saggy boobs. Ultimately, the most important thing to me, regardless of the size, is to not have any sagging. And he said that that if I wanted to go ahead with it, I would have to have realistic expectations. And I showed him some pictures on my phone of like women with really nice augmented boobs, and I was just like, well, they look like this? And he was like, no. And I was like, what about this one? He's like, no. And I was just like, oh my god, what are they gonna look like? And he was just like, you need to understand that without the lift, he said, they're still gonna look full and we're still going to try and create volume. He said, but they're not going to be boobs up here because this is not where my boobs are. They're going to be where my boobs are now, but with volume and projection and hopefully no leftover skin. So and as I said, as much as this might not sound like a nice conversation to you guys, to me this was music to my ears. It was just straightforward information. It was not like, you know, yes, come and have surgery and we're going to make you look like this, and because I didn't want that. I needed the facts of what can be done with my boobs that without too much scars and things like that. So he also said that because I was very lean here, I would have to go under the muscle so that it would hide the top of the implants, otherwise you get like that really, really obvious roundness where you can tell that it's implants. So to cover that, I would have to go under the muscle. So that's what he told me. He gave me also the dates he had for availability, because obviously I'll go on holiday at the end of May, and I wanted to be able to be recovered before then, and I've got some like events coming up that I needed to be fully healed for. So it didn't give me much chance like to ponder, because the date that I ultimately ended up doing, but the date he gave me that he was next available was like in 3 weeks time. So it was a very, very short amount of time to make my decision. And the price I was given was just like a one-time fixed price, and everything came under that umbrella. It wasn't like, you know, if we end up doing this, it'll be a little bit more. If we do this way, it'll be more. It was just, this is the price. We get in there and we'll sort it out, and this is your aftercare all included. So literally booked it the next day, and then I had an appointment with the cosmetic nurse for the next like few days after to go and try on the sizes, just so I could get an idea of what the size was going to be like. So I was told to go in a sports bra, and he told me to wear tight clothing because we'd had a chat about the fact that I always wear baggy clothing. So he said you need to wear something tight so that you can see what the shape is going to look like. I literally went in, I didn't entertain any other size. I was like, I just want to try 375, because he said that's the smallest I can go, so let's just go with that. And I tried them on, and James came with me, and he was like, they really don't look big. And to me they felt enormous, absolutely enormous, and I was really, really worried that I was going to wake up from having surgery and think, I've made a huge mistake, they're too big, because I didn't want to look top heavy. I'm already wide here. I didn't want to then look wide there and not fit in any of my clothes. I was really, really concerned about it, but James said he really didn't think they looked that big. The cosmetic nurse made me try on a 400cc as well, because she said I may get a better outcome sagging wise if I went up one size, because the more I fill out that area, the tighter the skin is going to look, the more uplifted they're going to look, and the less droopy they're going to look, because it's just the way it is. So she made me try on the 400cc sizer, and I said to her, I can't cope with it, I just feel that they're massive. James said they look no different, because apparently I think the 25cc difference between a 375cc and a 400cc is like a tablespoon of silicone, of liquid. That's the difference. So it's really very small, but I could feel it, and I just didn't feel comfortable. So so that was that, and then it was a very, very short 3-week wait, and in that 3 weeks I did do going on all the forums, looking at like how to prepare. I had a really, really nice conversation with Go Fit Jo. I'll put her details down below. She had written a very informative blog post about her own breast augmentation, and she had a very similar size to me, and she wrote up about all the things she used to have a very speedy recovery, which I took a lot from, and she agreed to FaceTime with me to talk me through it in person. And if any of you have ever dealt with Go Fit Jo, you'll know that she's making her business out of being like a wellness life coach, and she was a great sounding board to make me feel I know, empowered about my decision, and to make me take ownership of it, and to feel good about not having someone tell you it's okay to do it, but to be okay with telling yourself it's okay to do it. So I really, really appreciate it, and I thoroughly, anyone who's ever thinking of taking on her services for coaching and mentoring, I would highly recommend her, because she was really very, very helpful and patient. So like I said, I'll leave some of Go Fit Jo's details in the box below if you want to check her blog post out or get in touch with her for any reason. So I was looking on the forums at Under the Muscle, and I could see how tough the recovery was, because obviously the muscles don't like being cut open to have an implant underneath them, and I was reading everyone's recovery and it sounded horrendous. So I don't really recommend you do that, because it did put the fear of God into me, but I also think it was probably good, because it made me probably overly worry and be prepared for the worst, rather than think, oh, it's going to be a breeze, and then be surprised at how painful it was or something. So on the day of the surgery, I felt really weird, because I was really, really nervous. I'd really built up in my head that they were going to be too big and I was going to hate it, and I was going to say, why did I do this? I think that just comes with when you've been told you can't go smaller. There's no choice, really. You can't go smaller than what you have without a lift. So I think it was just the fear of my own cut-off point, if you like, that was doing that. But I felt really nervous, really, really like, can't believe you're choosing to do this. And that also made me feel a bit sad, because I felt like I had no right to feel scared and upset about it, because I was choosing to do it, and I should be like everyone else, singing and dancing, going in there, feeling so excited, like, yay, today's the day I get boobs. But I actually genuinely didn't feel like that. But anyway, got there, and they checked me in, took me up to my room, and met the nurse. And the anaesthetist came to see me and explained all the lovely drugs he was going to give me, which included, he said that while I was under anaesthetic, they would be pumping me full of antibiotics and painkillers. I think they used morphine while I was under, so that I would wake up as pain-free as possible. He also said that because my implant was going into the muscle, that I would be prescribed 3 doses over like a period of time of Valium. Hello, Valium. Valium is my new best friend. And I was like literally on a cloud. And yeah, and then they said recovery after the operation would be on cocodamol, but they would have something stronger on hand and readily prescribed for me if I couldn't cope on cocodamol. So that was with the anaesthetist. And then Mr. Hugh, my surgeon, came to see me, and he spent a long time with me. He spent as long as I needed with him, and he did photographs, obviously not with my face, and marked up my chest, and then he took me through all of my worries, because first thing he said to me was, are you excited? And I said, no, I'm really nervous. And he got me to explain all my concerns, and he went through each one and explained how everything was going to be okay, basically. And he made me feel so much better. Tried on loads and loads of sizes, which it is really fun, actually. It's really, really fun doing the sizes. And it was good, it was nice, because I'd only previously done it with the cosmetic nurse. It made me feel even more comfortable doing it with my plastic surgeon, and having his, opinion and professional experience seeing the size on me. So it made me feel loads better. So yeah, and that was that. And went down, got drugged up, went to sleep, and that was it. When I woke up in recovery, I actually woke up in a really, really good, happy mood. Felt like I was in no pain. Like, I could feel different. I could probably feel, it was probably pressure, but I think it was so loop-the-loop that I didn't know what it was feeling. But I woke up like this, and I was like, yes, oh my god, they're not too big, I'm so happy. And yeah, got taken out of recovery quite quickly because I was, well, obviously they ask you how much pain you're in, and I really wasn't in any, so they got me back to my room, and I just couldn't keep my eyes open, just slept and drank water. That was it. I just drank and drank and drank water. It came into my blood pressure, so I presume it felt like every hour, but there was absolutely no problems. I was in no pain. They topped me up with cocodamol, and they gave me some more Valium at night before what was meant to be my big sleep. But honestly, I just drifted in and out of sleep on a cloud that first day. I think it was about 10 o'clock at night. The only medication that hadn't been topped up was my anti-sickness medication, because when you, I think, come out from general anaesthesia, it can make you feel quite nauseous, and I hadn't felt that nauseous because obviously I'd been on anti-sickness medication, and I think it had just started to wear off, and I had a massive drink of water, and then literally it came out of nowhere, and I just threw up, and because it was all water, because I'd eaten nothing, because I had no appetite, but I drunk so much, and I had like the sick bucket, and I was pressing my beeper because I was like, I can't keep this fluid down, and I'm worried it's going to overflow the sick bucket because that's how much water I drank. But luckily they got to me in time and gave me a second one. So it was fine, but that was the only time I was sick, and they just topped my anti-sickness back up straight away, and I was absolutely fine then. So, and it wasn't horrendous or anything. It was actually more sort of amusing. So yeah, I slept, and then James was allowed to come and pick me up at 9 o'clock the next day. They were super organised, everything. Everyone had come to see me to check I was okay, the surgeon and the anaesthetist and the nurse had done all my discharge papers and gone through everything. Like I said, super organised. The meds were there ready to go home with. There was no hanging around, and it was just a breeze. James just came in. By that morning, I was up, I was walking around, I was, got myself dressed into my clothes. I'd had a good peek and taken some photographs, and yeah, felt really good about going home, and really quite well. And it did feel uncomfortable, and it did feel, there was pain, but it wasn't painful. And once I got home from sort of that 9:30 in the morning, I managed all of my recovery just on paracetamol and didn't actually take the prescribed cocodamol, because cocodamol can back you up. And I already have enough issues with my digestive system from Crohn's disease, so I really don't need to add any more by being totally constipated from cocodamol. So I was anxious to get off cocodamol if I could as quickly as possible. So from the time I came home, I just managed on 2 paracetamol every 4 hours, and lots of arnica. So I can't really complain at all about the experience I had with having the surgery done. It was very pleasant staying in hospital. I was well taken care of. The surgery was fine. The pain was fine. I haven't had a C-section, but I have the same scar as a C-section from a Crohn's surgery, and I would say that that's worse than having the boobs, because with the whole sitting up, yeah, it does hurt a little bit when you try and sit up and you can't push yourself off things because of using your muscles here, but it's nowhere near what it's like when you try and sit up when all your stomach muscles have been cut. So if I had to compare the two between a C-section and boobs, C-section is way worse, I would say, from not even having a C-section but just having that surgery. I feel quite comfortable comparing the two and saying stomach surgeries are worse than the boobs were, for me anyway. Yeah, just been super happy haven't had that much bruising. Did have a lot of swelling on the second and third day, to the point where I cried on the Friday. I had them done on the Wednesday, and on Friday night I had a big cry because I was like, they're too big. And they were like, but you saw them straight after surgery and they weren't big at all. And I was like, but they're so big, maybe I was just high on drugs and I didn't realise how big they were. But they were just, I think the swelling reaches its peak at like day 3. So they came down in size ever since then, and I've been thrilled, and I still get in all my size small sportswear. So it's been the perfect outcome so far for me. I have my post-op appointment on Thursday, which is in 2 days time, and I can't wait, and feel really, really, really positive about all of it. So I hope this has encouraged you slightly. I'm going to do another video all about recovery, specifically, and about all the things that I bought in preparation for a good, or to try and have a good recovery. Drop me a message in the comment if there's something in particular you want me to ask, and I will address it in the next video. And I just want to say a big thank you again for all your well wishes, all your support on this. I never expected the reaction that I got. I expected, I don't know, just I don't know, but just not. I didn't expect all the love and all the people to relate to me as much as you all did. I thought it would be the opposite. I thought I would alienate a lot of you by my decision. But you've got to do you, haven't you? You can't live your life for other people. I can't have saggy boobs for the rest of my life for anyone else, or for any of you. And I love the fact that none of you expected me to. So big thank you from me, and I will update you all soon. But I do want to reassure all of you that recovery has really been really, really okay. And obviously I think the healthier you are going into a surgery, the healthier you can, the better your recovery can be. So drink your water, eat your greens, train, and be healthy.